Are live right now. I will just be checking out LinkedIn to make sure, and a couple of other places to make sure that we are live. We are joined by a very, very special guest today. It is Pelpina. Pelpina, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Oh, thanks so much, dear. I'm so excited to just see you and talk to you live. It's been too long since we hung out in London. But yes, I make videos and I help other people, companies, organizations make video in a smart way, just using what you have. For example, your smartphone. That's what I do.
And you recently released a book on this.
I did. It's called Video Smart. Hey. So it's all about how you make videos using simply your phone, which I know you know everything about this, Goldie. So I'm thrilled to be here with you. But yes, it's all about how you can make videos in a smart way. And by that, I mean using what you have and making goal-oriented videos. So understanding your audience and then creating simple yet effective videos.
Amazing. And since we are on the subject of creating effective videos, I want to shout out my sponsor right now for this series, Restream. Check them out. They're super cool. They're a way to stream on multiple platforms as we're doing right now. In fact, we are live right now on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and who knows,
everywhere.
Maybe even a couple of other places. So thank you to Restream. Check them out. I realized I didn't even drop the link. And if you use this link, you'll get $10 off. But let's get back into thinking about how to use your iPhone and whatever mobile device you have in order to grow your brand. I think this is such a perfect subject for right now as we are transitioning slowly back into work. And I think we will transition to work probably more likely in 2022. But for this year, we are creating a lot, and I'm just going to pull out my phone. We are creating a lot on this. Oh my gosh, my screen is so dirty. We're creating a lot.
Let's compare. All right.
Look, I know. It's just, I always use the anti-smudge alcohol wipes.
You do? Well, that's good.
I try to be good about that. But let's start with the basics. So when you are thinking about creating content on your phone, Pelpina, do you have some basic rules that you'd love to share with everyone?
Yes, of course. Okay, so as you know, because you've created videos daily for several years, and I've watched you create videos with your phone. So as you know, it's not about the tools. And it's so funny because that's what everyone always asks for. So what should I get? What kind of microphone? What kind of phone should I get? What's the best, any type of tool, best tripod, best lights. And of course, yes, it is important to have the right tools. It can definitely help out, but that's not the first step. What you need first is having a good plan. So you need to understand who is your audience. What platform are you planning on posting this video on? And then you can start creating a plan, right? And film with focus. So you're not filming and editing for like 2 or 3 hours. So what you really want is to have focus in a plan, know who your audience is, what they are, what kind of questions they have, what their perhaps themes are that are going on. And then simply get your phone and use what you have. The 3 things you will need in order for people to actually understand your message is you need good audio, you need good light, and good composition. That's the basics.
So you just said the basics: good audio, good light, and good composition. So let's go through a more simple one of those things right now. I noticed that, and I actually get a lot of feedback on this. Sometimes people ask me, why don't I use a more expensive headphone set, of which I own a very expensive set of headphones for live streaming. But I love using these and over the AirPods, because I feel like AirPods drop out all the time. What are your thoughts?
Same here. So the funny thing is, I think you do whatever works best for you, right? And I have a camera somewhere here. nice Sony camera that I hardly ever use. I still just use my webcam. I still just use it's whatever works. And I think the same goes with your phone, with videos you can create on your phone. I was once I was a reporter in Texas for CW, and this is many, many years ago. I was filming with my iPhone 4. It's a long time ago. Okay. It had about 60 pixels, I think, but it was an iPhone 4, and I was still able to get really good footage for a national morning show. So what it was about, it wasn't about the camera. It was about having the right audio, understanding the right type of light conditions, and having the right shots. So having good composition. And if you have those basic techniques, you can create really good videos using simply your phone.
Yes, and I think that's where people overcomplicate things. And I've seen this too, right? Where it's so tempting, I think, because of the advent of YouTube, you want to make these perfectly shot, perfectly edited, amazing videos, but you don't need super expensive equipment. I was about to say you don't need super expensive content. No, you do need super lovely content. You don't need very expensive equipment to make the best content. And of course, the prime example of this is the advent of stories and short form content like TikTok.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great example because it's not about having the right equipment, having the right tools. It is understanding your audience and what exactly they're looking for. My life, well, my business life changed, my career changed when I started posting regular videos on LinkedIn. So I used to get all caught up in having that perfect shot, making sure every little detail was just amazing. And it took me months to create a video because I would do it on the side. I still have my regular job. So it took me quite some time to just create one video. Then I made this decision, okay, I'm not going to create these perfect videos anymore. I'm just going to create whatever's on my mind, and I'll create it then and there. And I would give myself a max time, like, okay, it's going to take me 1 hour or an hour and a half. And then this video is done and I'm not doing any more. And those videos did so much better than the perfect videos. So people are not looking for a huge amount of pixels, the perfect face, perfect lighting, but they do want real people with real stories who have something to share, who have some interesting knowledge to share. But that took me quite some time. It took me a couple of years to figure that out.
Well, I think that was what was so fascinating about creating video content on LinkedIn, especially during the early days. And I laugh because the early days was really 2017, 2018. So not incredibly long ago, but when we think about video content and how it has changed since, say, 2015 to now, there's been a huge change in having to have perfect video content and then really having a movement towards authentic, more chill content that can be shot on a grainy iPhone. In fact, I think the first 50 videos I shot for sure were shot on an iPhone 5S, which was a very grainy video.
I love it.
I killed my iPhone shooting videos on my iPhone. But that's what's so crazy is you can grow a following on a platform creating imperfect videos that are tailored to, Pelpina, what you said, tailored to your audience and your demographic. Can you get a little bit more into how do we figure out who our audience and our demographic is for our video content?
Yes. So what I always start off with is 3 P's, people, platform, purpose. You know these, right? So you first start off with who is my ideal viewer, right? So who would I really like to reach with my video? What do they look like? What do they know? What are their questions? What are their problems? So you first try to identify who you're trying to reach, right? So your target audience. Then if you know who your target audience is, you probably also know where you can reach them. So that's the second key platform. And based on those first two, you can probably kind of decide what kind of video you're going to make. So is it going to be square, vertical, landscape? Do you need captions or no? How long is the video going to be? And then the third P is purpose. So you really want to understand, what do I want the viewer to do or think or feel when they're watching my video? And how do I get that across in the video? So do I have a call to action, which is great. But where am I going to put that in the video? Is it at the very end or at the start or somewhere in the middle? So having those three P's, I think that's the start. That's the foundation. But then to make things a bit more practical, you need a video plan.
So that's the fourth P, practical.
Yes, I love it. So then you need a plan. So you need to know, how am I going to start this video? What's the timing? How many tips am I going to share? Maybe I have 20 seconds per tip. How am I going to end the video? So you have this plan, which will give you focus during filming and editing. So having a plan has really helped me out, not filming for 2 hours, sharing, all my thoughts on video, and then having to cut it up to maybe a minute or 2 minutes, because that just takes a lot of time. So
I feel like it is easier to plan for a shorter video, and I think you're absolutely right with knowing the bullet points of what you're going to say also helps with, for those of you who are out there who are nervous about creating your own video content, but you still want to try to make your own video content, I think having an outline is a great way to start. So you're not just starting by just throwing things to the wind.
Yes, exactly. And it will give you some confidence too, because once you're at a video shoot and maybe you're filming for a company or you're filming for your own company, whatever it is, but you will get some confidence if you have to interview people, or maybe you have to be in the middle of your office and do a little stand up. It's really nice to have that focus because you're there with purpose. And I think a lot of videos, when it comes to creating videos, it's a lot about having that confidence, and not just on camera confidence, making sure you come across right, but also having the confidence to step up to people, to ask them if you can ask them some questions, or even just filming at the office and then putting a camera really up close to people, maybe your colleagues or coworkers who are working. Even that, to a lot of people, can be pretty scary. So having confidence in creating videos it's about being confident in front of the camera, but also.
And I think a lot of us now have experience with being on Zoom or other live streaming platforms because we've had to do more remote meetings. So I'd like to think that more of us out there are more comfortable with being on camera in general. But of course, filming edited videos is very different than being on a Zoom call, or it can feel very different than being on a Zoom call. But it doesn't necessarily have to be scarier than doing a video meeting.
No, I agree. And the thing is, just like, we're kind of forced into being on Zoom all the time. And that has given a lot of people a lot of exposure to being on camera. So that is great. It's wonderful. But the main difference is when you're filming yourself, you've been doing for such a long time, is you don't have someone else you're talking to. So when you're in a Zoom call, you see the people you're talking to, just like right now, I see you, we, are talking, you smile every once in a while, which is nice. But when you're on camera, you don't see that, right? So it's something you have to practice. And practice, by the way, practice shouldn't make perfect, practice should make confident.
Yeah, so you don't want perfect, the whole point is not to have perfectly polished video content. So I want to make sure that I say hi to everyone. I know we're already halfway through this live stream, but hello, everyone. Good morning, at least good morning for me. Good evening from Palmina.
Yes.
I want to say, please feel free to drop into the chat where you are tuning in from, where in the world. I've already seen a ton of great different folks saying hello, and I'll try to also put you on screen if you do drop a message. So please do. And also, if you have any questions about creating video content that makes sense for your brand, ask now. So let's get into something really fun, Pelpita, that maybe you're not asked a lot about, but we talked about it right before we started this call, which is our backgrounds. So when you are thinking about doing content on your phone, how do we think about the background that's behind us? Because of course, maybe it's a narrower, tighter frame. So maybe background doesn't matter, or maybe it does. What do you think?
I think it definitely does. And you have a lovely background, by the way. Absolutely.
Thank you, my dear.
But what you want to do, so you can either film vertically or horizontally. That's, vertically if you're filming for stories, LinkedIn stories, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram stories. You want to film vertically. And then, of course, your background will be different, right? So you probably have minimal background. If you film horizontally, landscape, for YouTube or your newsletter, whatever, then you probably have a bit more background. And yes, so it's very important. There are 3 ways to visualize what you're saying. So since we're talking about creating videos, it is so important to show people what you're talking about. So there are 3 ways to do that. You can either hold something in your hand, right? So you can hold something and show people and talk about it. And, it could be any type of product that you can hold. The second way is the background. So there can be something in the background going on. Maybe you're standing in front of a building or in a specific room or whatever it is that really shows what you're talking about. So it adds to your story. And the third way is to have videos or pictures or text edited in the video. So it's like an overlay of video in video. So that is something that is so important to think about before you start filming. So when you have your video plan, also think about, how am I going to make this visual? What are people going to see? Do I have any pictures or videos that I can put in this video? Or is there something I can hold? Or can I be in a certain spot? Can I use a specific background to really show people what I'm talking about? It's video, it's not radio. So we want to see what you're talking about.
And that's amazing. I remember for my last guest, Bradley, he actually had a logo of his kind of right here next to his head. And it was like a cutout black and white logo. So it was really distinctively, and of course he's a YouTuber. So I feel like this is a very YouTube thing to do, to have your logo right next to.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah.
It was, I feel like it was really, first of all, it was so on brand. The way he had his logo and all the colors he had in the background. His color scheme is more blue. So, and we were just also talking about this, the purple light phenomenon. Of course, I have a little bit of purple going on in my background. You have a little bit of purple going on in yours. And I've seen this from a lot of folks who regularly do streams, is purple and pink are really common choices, I think, because they're so soothing.
I think so. And they're just flattering. And any background, this is a very simple white wall. There is nothing going on here. But if you just put on these two simple, so I have these very simple lights I can show you from Great Video Maker. And that just changes everything. So it makes the white wall look interesting all of a sudden. But it's just a very, very simple light, two very simple
and I'll show you guys. I think I can still pull it up. I have even simpler system, which is colored bulbs and regular metal lamps. And they're all affixed onto one remote controlled power strip. And then of course there are
Love
color
it.
changing light systems that you can buy pretty easily now as well. So it really just depends on what you need. But I really like just having simple colored lights that you turn on and off.
Yes, it makes a big
yeah.
difference. So what I do with these lights as well, so they can change color, right? So I could turn this light green or orange, whatever I want to. So when I make videos for companies, I look at their colors, at their brand colors, and then I change the color of my background. So I do this for webinars, for trainings, for videos, and people notice it and they love it. So it's one tiny little thing, and it costs me maybe 5 seconds of my time. But people really appreciate it.
Yeah, and like I said, you can buy color change bulbs, so you can change the colors all the time if that's your mood. I find that's really popular with folks on Twitch in particular.
Right.
Yeah, and also a little bit on TikTok. But you can also buy LED light strips. So here's just a set that I have going on. These are just plain ones. In fact, this is the best part. They just click on and off. I like to have a mixture of battery powered and also plugged into the wall version, just in case something happens, because we never know if the power will go out. I guess if
you
the power
never know these days.
Yeah, so you never know these days. So I like to have a mixture of two different kind of solutions. We're getting a question from the audience, and that is how to narrow down your target demographic. How do you know who you should focus on that makes sense for growing your brand?
I love this question. So I think what happened with me personally, so I can tell you my story, right? So I started off many years ago creating videos on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. I've been creating videos for a long time. And no one ever really watched them. Okay, so it was just like, I'd put this video on Facebook and I would have like one comment from my aunt who would say, I love that dress. And I was thinking, well, that's not the point of the video, but thank you. So there wasn't really any traction. There wasn't really anyone really watching and really understanding why I was doing this until I posted my first video on LinkedIn. And it was a video on an app. The app was called Clips. It was an app, and I'm sure you know this app, Goldie, that creates captions automatically. It was one of the first apps that did this. It was really, really cool. For a simple video on it, I put this on Facebook, and again, then I put it on LinkedIn, even though I didn't do anything with LinkedIn. But I put it on LinkedIn, and I got so much response. It was just ridiculous. I was like, what's going on? Is there a glitch in the algorithm? What is happening? And I started posting more videos on video creation, and it just, people loved it. And that's how I found my audience, by really, first of all, understanding the problems. And I do this because I train companies every day in creating videos. And so when you train people in creating videos, you get a lot of questions. So that's really how you deep dive into your audience, is being around them.
So I think having a general overall focus that you want to create your content within, and then trying several, I guess, dots and several different tracks within that general bubble of creation. For example, you might be a product manager, so you might be doing all of these different topics within the realm of being a product manager.
Right. And it's experimenting as well. So the experiments I did on Facebook and Instagram, they failed, but then I tried it on LinkedIn, and then people were really excited about it. So it's also about experimenting, finding out what exactly people are looking for, and then having the right match, it just.
Yeah. And I definitely want to also pull this out, Pilpina, because I think you're touching on this very lightly, which is every platform is different. So I'll say this, I have a much smaller following on Twitter than I do on LinkedIn. And it's funny to me because there are people who follow me on Twitter who have no idea what I do on LinkedIn and have never seen in their lives any of my LinkedIn content. So you have to be really careful about being platform specific with your content. Not every single video or written post, for that matter, works on every single platform.
Nope, certainly doesn't. No, but I always try to recommend, if it is at all possible, because people often ask me, so what platform should I create videos for? Because I have, my audience is everywhere. And I always try to see if there's one specific platform that you could pick as your main platform and try to optimize your video for that specific platform. So for example, LinkedIn, make the videos square or 4x5, have them with captions, start off with a person. And keep them pretty short. And that way you can still put them on other platforms, but you have optimized it for one platform that probably works best for your audience.
So here is our pro tip from this live stream. Pick one main platform to focus on for your video content. And of course, it's whatever platform makes sense for your audience. So if you are focused on, for example, I want to say interior decorators between the ages of, I'm making up this demographic right now, between the ages of 25 to 35, LinkedIn may not be the perfect video platform for you, but a platform like Pinterest or Instagram or really, visually stimulating platforms that focus are already on that demographic are helpful to know. So going to where I think about a lot about pastures with cows, going to where the cows already are is so helpful. I'll say this totally unrelated. Pelpina got me the cutest Miffy keychain that is like a bunny, and I'm so sad because it literally disintegrated because I shouldn't have actually put it on my travel backpack. So I'll have to get another one from her next time we hang out in person.
I'll get it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think a lot about going to where your audience is and then creating your platform there, creating your content there. Now, Pepina and I had a really interesting special use case a little bit in that we created content on LinkedIn before there was necessarily an audience for our content on that platform. So there are really two ways, I should say, to think about this. One is to make sure that you go to the platform where they already are there. They're already used to consuming interior design content. And then the other one is to go on a platform where, say, there's not as much of that content and to make a presence there. And by not as much, I mean basically none at all. And then grow your audience from there. So those are kind of two different ways to think about it. One is obviously much more risky than the other one.
True. And it's right. It's the second one is definitely experimenting and trying out and seeing if there is a match at all. And so I think, what happened on LinkedIn, was just incredible, a couple of years back when you started creating videos and you posted videos daily, and it was just such a huge inspiration to so many people who never even thought of posting a video on LinkedIn. And here you were creating a video every single day. So that definitely was a big inspiration. And you're back with your 100 questions, of course. So, hey.
And I think, like, obviously with my series and your book that's out, everyone please buy it as well. It is, can you hold it up for everyone again,
Yes. I have it right here.
It is called Video Smart, and you can purchase it. I'm the infomercial for you right now, and you can purchase it on Amazon right now. It's great. In fact, I have like the teeniest, tiniest blurb in there. So please go support it.
You are in here. Of course you are in here. The LinkedIn video creator is definitely in here. I'll have to look it up on what page exactly. But yes, you are in here with pictures too. So yes,
Amazing.
of course I can't
So
find it now, but
we have a sizable comment here. I want to make sure we get to it right before
yes.
we end our stream.
Yes.
I am a corporate communications professional with years of experience with global companies. How do I start creating a personal brand? Thank you for your insights. And I should say this too, Pelpina, right before this comment, somebody said that we were trailblazers. Very sweet. Thank you so much. But how do we start to think about creating a personal brand? Now, I obviously have been doing endless content on this, but we want to hear from you, our special guest, Pelpina. How do you start to think about creating a personal brand, especially with your clients? And you have so many different kinds of clients, from corporate to individuals. So where do you start with personal brands for them?
Oh, okay. So when I started creating my personal brand, I always thought there had to be something about me. So for example, Goldie, you have beautiful green hair and I love it. And it's just, it's your thing. It's your brand. So, very recognizable. And I remember thinking, what do I have? Right? Who am I? I don't have green hair. I don't wear a hat. What do I do? How am I different? And I think if you stop looking for that, if that makes any sense, if you stop forcing that, and if you're just you, in whatever sets you apart, whatever makes you unique, you will find your personal brand. And to me, eventually, that was creating videos in a simple way, in a smaller way, using just a phone, and being authentic, while filming. And I think if you follow that, you will slowly start to understand your personal brand. But you first have to understand who you are, and that, I think, is probably the most difficult thing to do. But yeah, I don't think it has a lot to do with looking a specific way, but more about your passion, and then creating something around that. And then, of course, yes, it's about trying to find the right colors and looking at really nice fonts for the website and everything. And to me, that has been a journey as well. So just figuring out what fits me, right? So even just coming up, so someone designed the cover of my book, even designing the cover was like, a personal journey, because it has to stand for something. Should I be on the cover? Should I not be on the cover? Who am I? How can you see that in this book? It's so difficult. It's so difficult. But, you have to start creating something, and then you will feel and know whether it is you or it isn't.
And I think that is a really lovely place to start to think about ending, which is, I think a lot of people probably are struggling to figure out who they are, especially after last year.
Yes.
There was a lot of changes that happened. So one of the ways to maybe simplify down the search for who are you, which I do think is a huge, huge undertaking in general, is to really think, especially if you've had a corporate career, to think about connecting those dots in your career and what can you pull out of those dots. So for me personally, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I worked in digital marketing very much behind the scenes for over a decade. Before starting to create any sort of this kind of content where I'm front and center and talking about my expertise. And I think that's really helpful when you're building your personal brand, is to think, where do you have your expertise? Sometimes it's nice to actually not fake it before you make it, but to use things that are based in reality. And Pelpina, of course, was a video trainer before she started teaching video training on LinkedIn. And not everyone knows that about her either. So it is really helpful to take your expertise and build that into your brand, as Pelpina has obviously done in such an amazing way. And with that, I'd like to sign off. Once again, I'd like to thank my sponsor for this, Restream. Thank you so much for sponsoring this live stream. Excited to be always building our brands together. Thank you to Pelpina. Where can people find you on the internet?
Thank you. So you can go to my website, pilpina.com, or you can also download a free ebook on how to create videos like a pro with a lot of, video tips and tricks. So that's a really good place to start. And on LinkedIn, of course. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
So please find Palpina Tripp on LinkedIn. Go ahead and follow her already sizable following on LinkedIn. And we will see you all later. Bye, everyone.